Okay, today is Module 4, Lesson 4, the relationship of division and subtraction. Yesterday you looked at how multiplication is repeated addition. Today we're going to look at how division is repeated subtraction. Now there's actually two different ways we could look at it, and that's really the only thing you really have to be careful of is what the directions are telling you. And then you'll have no problem being able to do this. And I'm just going to jump around a little bit. Right now, pencils down. We're just going to chit-chat a little bit, so all eyes should be on the board, okay? So if we have the quantity of 20. So let's look at this equation. 20 divided by 4 equals 5. I'm starting with my dividend. My dividend of 20 is my quantity. So I'm going to take my 20, and I'm going to keep subtracting 4. Subtract 4, subtract 4, so keep subtracting 4 until I get to 0. How many groups of 4 are there? 5. So we were able to make 5 groups of 4 until I got to 0. So 20 divided by 4 equals 5. Is everybody okay with that? But now, let's look at it this way. Instead of doing 20 divided by 4 equals 5, let's look at 20 divided by 5 equals 4. Remember those fact families from kindergarten? So now this time we have our quantity of 20, and we're going to keep taking away 5. 20 minus 5 is? 15. 15 minus 5 is? 10 minus 5 is? 5 minus 5 is? 0. So we keep going and subtracting until we end at 0. How many groups of 5 are there? 4. So sometimes we could have 4 groups with 5 in each group, or we could have 5 groups of 4. And those are the two things we're going to be focusing on today. Identifying how many groups and how many are in the group. Okay? So groups and how many are in the group. All right, let's continue and look at that. Here we have a tape diagram of 20 divided by x equals 5. So our whole quantity is 20. Here, our quotient is 5. So our quotient is telling us the number of groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you see the 5 groups? The x is telling us the number in the group. So if I keep subtracting, and I keep subtracting another group until I get to 0, that's what I can see here. How many are in each group? If I have 5 groups, how many are in each group? What would x equal? Right, so x would equal 4. So there are 4 in each group. Okay, so this time our x told us how many were in the group. This time the x is going to tell us the number of groups. So I took my total of 20 and made that many groups. So now my 5 is telling me the number in each group. So this is 5, 5, 5, 5. So if my quotient 5 is telling me how many are in each group, how many groups are there? How many groups are there? If there's 5 in each group, how many groups are there? Right, so now I know x equals 4. Okay? So that's two different ways to look at it. And I know you're probably going a little cross-eyed right now, but we're going to do a whole bunch to practice them. And then hopefully it'll make more sense. So remember, we're looking at groups, the number of groups, and how many are in each group. Okay? Okay? Think of it as how many chocolate chips are in a cookie, and then how many cookies are in the bag. Think of it that way. If that helps. Now let's look at your note page, page 11. you'll notice you have two tables, a table on top, and look at your division equations on your top table. 12 divided by x, 18 divided by x, 35 divided by y, and 42 divided by z. You see those? Look at your bottom table. Same exact equations. But the tables do mean something different. All right, so what's the difference between the two different tables? So let's go back and look at the top table. Everybody should have a highlighter out that was on the do now board. And you should have your pencil. So the first table is telling us the divisor indicates the size of the unit. So the divisor is telling us the size. Now here's the thing. I don't agree with the word unit. I think it's more helpful, instead of unit, we use the word group. So cross off the word unit and write group. Come on. Cross off the word unit and write group. And then highlight divisor is the size. So the divisor tells us how many are in each group. So if the divisor is telling us how many are in each group, what is the quotient telling us? What's left? If that's the size of the group, right, so the quotient is telling us the number of groups. And that's not a hashtag. We're not tweeting. We're doing math. So the quotient is the number of groups. Write that down. So let's take a look at the first example. So we have 12 divided by x equals 4. What's our quantity? What's our dividend? What do we have? What's the amount that we have? What's our dividend? What's the amount that we have that we're breaking into groups? 12. So if you look at the tape diagram, there are 12 boxes. Yes? That's our quantity. That's what we have. Now my divisor is telling me the size of the group. My divisor is an x. Do I know what x is yet? No. So I'm going to look at my quotient 4. The quotient is going to tell me the number of groups. So how many groups are there? How many groups are there? So I'm going to take my 12 and put them into even groups of 4. So now that I know I have 4 groups, because they've told me that, how many are in each group? How many are in each group? 3. So now I know that my x equals 3. And if you notice carefully, they wrote a number sentence here. It was 12. Then they took away 3, took away 3, took away 3, and kept taking away 3 until they got to 0. So this is very important, that x equals 3 units in each group. The x equals 3 in each group. So highlight that as a reminder that you have to write that on your homework as well. Now we're going to drop to the bottom table. Now the bottom table has the same equation, 12 divided by x equals 4. But this time, the divisor is telling me the number of groups. And I'm going to cross off units and write groups. And you should too. So my divisor is the number of groups. So if my divisor is the number of groups, what is my quotient going to tell us? Right. So write that down as a reminder. So the quotient this time is the size. Okay, so 12, our dividend is still our quantity. So our tape diagram still has 12 boxes in it. But now this time, our x is the number of groups. Do I know what x is? No. So I don't know how many groups to make. So 4, my quotient is telling me the size of the group. So 4 is the size of my group. So 1, 2, 3, 4, make a group. 1, 2, 3, 4, make a group. 1, 2, 3, 4, make a group. So how many groups are there? How many groups did we make? 3. So x equals 3 groups. And now this time we're taking away 4 at a time because there's 4 in each group. So that number that you keep subtracting is the number, or I should say is the size of the group. You're subtracting, oh come on, pen. The number that you're subtracting is the size of the group. So we're subtracting 4, subtracting 4, subtracting 4 because there's 4 in each group. But on the top table, we were subtracting x because x was the size of the group. We didn't know what x was, so we keep subtracting x. I'm sure you're still feeling a little cross-eyed. It would be easier if you did one. So let's do number 2 together. We're on the top table for number 2. 18 divided by x equals 3. So what's our quantity? What's my dividend? How much do I have? How much do I have? 18. So go. Draw a tape diagram. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 cuts gives you 18 boxes. All right? So now we have to look at what the table is telling us. Our divisor x is telling us the size of the group. Do I know the size of the group? No, I don't know the size of the group. So I have to look at my quotient to tell me how many groups. So how many groups should I make? 3. So go ahead and figure out how many so that you have 3 groups. Because my quotient is telling me the number of groups. So we're on the top table. I don't know why you have that all done. We didn't do it yet, and it's incorrect. So let's fix it. That's not correct, buddy. Please erase it and fix it. Boys and girls, don't go ahead in your notes. I see many of you went ahead, and it's not correct. So the quotient is telling us I need 3 groups. So when you make 3 groups, how many are in each group? That's 6. So 18 minus 6 minus 6 minus 6 equals 0. So you're writing that below your tape diagram. So x equals 6 units in each group. X equals 6 units in each group. So when we're writing our equation in the first column, did we know the size of the group? No. So that's our x. So minus x minus x minus x. We knew that x equaled 6. Now let's try the same equation, but on the bottom table. Now the difference is on the bottom table, my divisor x is telling me the number of groups. Do I know how many groups to make? No. So I'm going to look at my quotient. My quotient is 3. My quotient is telling me the size of the group. So now I'm going to take my tape diagram of 18 and make groups of 3. Because this 3 is telling me the size of the group. Oops, wrong one. So take your tape diagram take your tape diagram, draw your 18 boxes, and my quotient is the size of the group. So I need 3, 3, 3, and I'm going to keep subtracting 3 until I get to 0. So now I know that x equals 6 groups, because here my x was the number of groups. Remember, we're going to keep subtracting the size, and so I know the size of my group is 3. So I go at 18 minus 3 minus 3 minus 3 minus 3. Let's try another one. Let's go back to the top table, and let's look at 35 divided by y equals 5. Ew. Let's change that to 15. Okay, make that 15. How many of you already did the 35? All right. So 15 divided by y. So our quantity is 15. So draw 15. Okay, hopefully you did a better job than I did. Now I know that my divisor is telling me the size of the group. Do I know the size of the group? No, so it's 15 minus y, and I had to keep going until I get 0. But I don't know how many to write yet. So if y is telling me the size of the group, my quotient is telling me the number of groups. So the 5 is telling me I need 5 groups. So let's do 5 groups. Group, group, group. I did something wrong. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I drew something incorrect. Okay, so I'm sorry. So my quotient is telling me the number of groups. My quotient is 5. So I need 5 groups. So now that I have 5 groups, how many are in each group? 3. So now this would be 15 minus 3 minus 3 minus 3 minus 3. And y equals 3 in each group. So y equals 3. I made your homework a little bit easier for you. I did email it home, but you don't have to use the one that I emailed home. Turn to your homework and look at your problem set. Look at your problem set. Number 2, change it to a 12 on the top and the bottom. Number 2, change to a 12 on the top and on the bottom. Number 3, change to a 21 on the top and the bottom. Number 4, change to a 15 on the top and on the bottom. I also made the boxes a lot bigger for you to work in. So if you decide to print this out that I emailed home, you could do that. And I even did the first tape diagram of 24 for you. I drew the boxes for you and set up so you know what to write. Also take a moment right now and on your homework, on your problem set, fix the headings.